So yeah, pretty good. I'm working on Shaolin history now.
So what's hot with that, with the Shaolin history?
Well, I'm looking at the founder of Shaolin, who was before Bodhidharma. I mean, Bodhidharma was not actually an abbot or anything. He, he supposedly meditated in a cave, sort of next to Shaolin, but not actually in the monastery. Apparently, he may have been executed.
Who, Bodhidharma or the?
Yeah, Bodhidharma. Because apparently, according to one record, he was buried by the side of a river, and that was about 528 BC, AD, and at that time, there was a kind of massacre that took place at the kind of at the same location. So it looks like he might have been part of that massacre. But there's the legend about the shoe. The
shoe of the Buddha.
No, Bodhidharma's shoe. According to one legend, he was seen sort of flying off to the west, and somehow or other he left one shoe behind. But what may have happened is that his body may never have been found, but maybe all they found was one shoe, and that sort of grew into this rather sort of fanciful legend of him actually flying off through the air and dropping a shoe. But I mean, there was never any kind of pagoda or any of the usual sort of like tomb or inscriptions to record his death and place of death, or burial or cremation or whatever. There was nothing. So he does seem to have existed, but so again, it's a lot of sort of mystery about it.
Yeah, well, he came by boat, right? Isn't it that he came by boat?
Yeah, I think that seems to be the consensus, that he came from the south by boat. He also had a female disciple, a nun disciple, among.
Tip your camera again. You're yeah. There you go.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah.
It might be the background may be a bit bright now, or in front of me might be a bit bright.
Oh no, that's good. Bright is good. Bright in front of you is good.
Right.
Okay. There you go. All right. So there might have been a female, a nun.
Yeah, there was apparently a nun, and near Shaolin Monastery there is actually an ancient nunnery. And those nuns also have a kind of martial tradition. So it's kind of interesting.
Who sponsored the creation of the temple in the 5th century?
The emperor of the Wei dynasty.
Oh, the Wei. So that's still Wei dynasty. So those are some sort of northern ethnic group.
That's right. Yeah, it's sort of Turkic ethnicity, and yeah, so it was one of those sort of local dynasties, and according to the story, he first, as you said, came by boat, and he encountered the emperor, or self-styled emperor of the south, of the state of Liang, and then he supposedly walked out on that emperor and came north and settled down in this cave near Shaolin, supposedly. So at that time, the Shaolin Monastery was pretty new, but it had already been founded. So he was not the, there is a sort of a version that says he founded it, which is it's not true. He did not found the monastery, but he was associated with it, or became associated with it.
But at this time, was Chan even established? You know, the or was this a Tiandai sect, or what are we talking about here? What type of Buddhism was it?
The Sanskrit word is dhyana, which kind of is sometimes translated as the meditation sect, and that gave rise to the word Chan, and that became Zen, of course, in Japan, and so at that time it was probably a bit different from the kind of the idea that we have of Zen. I didn't think they were breaking things at that time. But it was. I think the seeds were there, and whether whether there was really a martial tradition is a bit sort of vague. There are sort of indications that it was sort of somewhat that way inclined, rather than bookish, the usual scriptural sutra type of Buddhism.
Well, so the big movement to get scriptures didn't happen until a little later, right? So they may have had a limited supply, would be one question.
Well, most of the scriptures at that time were brought in by Indian or Central Asian monks, and the founder of Shaolin, like Bodhidharma, I mean, they were originally from India, or
right,
the Indian area.
right.
So yeah, it's when it was, I think, a little bit later that some Chinese monks sort of went back the other way, like the famous
right.
Xuanzang.
Yeah.
That was that. Yeah, that. I mean, Xuanzang, of course, was at the beginning of the Tang, and
Of the famous monk Sun Wukong stories. Yeah,
that's right. And there were others, but he was certainly. I mean, he was kind of amazing because he brought a massive stack on his back, apparently, or perhaps mostly on camel. I don't know, but anyway, and not only that, but he also worked on the translation himself for the rest of his life under imperial sponsorship at Chang'an and Xi'an, and He actually wished to retire to Shaolin, but the wish was not granted because the emperor wanted to keep him close at hand.
One thing, I'm not sure if this was in Mayor Shahar's book, but I read it somewhere. The Shaolin, the Mount Sung, right? This area where Shaolin is was an important pass between Shu, the Shu Kingdom, and whatever we're calling the kingdom to the east. Shu Kingdom being the Sichuan Plain, basically.
Yeah, well, it was there was a pass. I think the most famous pass is the Hulao Pass. So I think it's the Tiger Cage Pass between sort of like places like Luoyang and Kaifeng on the Yellow River, and the way south towards like Wudang, etc. So yeah, that pass was a great strategic importance.
So, but there's more than one pass, right? But they're all of strategic importance. If because if you're only blocking one, people will come through the other one, right? So it was pretty important strategically.
I think it's I mean, I think now I think it's all been blasted out as far as I know. But in ancient times, it would have been very critical to have control of that. So yeah, so Shaolin being in sort of that vicinity would have been important,
militarily.
Yeah, militarily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but we take it as something sort of unusual to have armed monks or armed monasteries, but in fact, I think it must have been sort of fairly standard. I mean, every monastery would need protection because a lot of them had wealth and might be controlling important strategic points. So the other one, which is quite famous, well, was quite famous, this was Wu Tai Mountains. That's actually almost like a Buddhist city, of monasteries. It's a huge area. I mean, now it's a sort of major tourist destination, but that certainly would have had some protection, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a good puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a bit like the Christian monks. I mean, what they would write about would be stuff about Christianity. They wouldn't write about sort of military matters, except when they had to. But I think the same thing with a lot of these Buddhist monasteries is that they just wouldn't record that anything that mundane, such as military defense and engagements and killing, fighting. They wouldn't consider that worthy of writing down, or it
was too common, right? It was just too common. It was too common. Why write about something that's happening all the time?
Yeah, and also something which they'd rather forget about, because this is kind of irrelevant to their pursuit of eternal.
Well, what about Daoyin? Any new revelations about the Daoyin at Shaolin?
No. Again, you see that would be considered too physical. I mean, yeah, it would have, no doubt it was practiced, but it wasn't something which they would sort of spend a lot of time writing about, you know, because that was too bodily. I mean, there probably were texts, but they just, would have been secondary and probably, got destroyed, and except for the ones which somehow got passed on outside the monastery. But,
right. Well, there also was some sort of Taoist hermitage on the mountain as well, right?
yeah, well, there are two mountains, right? There's
Right
the
next to each other, yeah.
what do they call? Supposedly they were named after the two wives of one of the mythical emperors. I think it's Yao or Shun, and the chief wife that was Tai Chi mountain, and the Shaoshi, where Shaolin is, Shaoshi means the lesser wife. so, so that was kind of the lesser mountain. The main mountain was the kind of the central mountain, according to Chinese cosmography. That was not Taishan, Songshan, but it was also the Zhongyue, the central. I translated to range rather than just peak, but
yeah,
it's kind of the the center of China, really. Obviously, both in Hainan, which was the kind of could be considered the central sort of province, and so on the big mountain, there was a massive temple. Well, there still is, and I think the Qin emperor was one of those who built a massive shrine there. But it goes, that kind of area is, possibly one of the, first, the sort of capitals, or the sort of vicinity of Chinese capitals going way back into prehistory. They found some massive foundations, and the archaeologists are still digging them up. But yeah, it was obviously a great center, and so you have the god, of course, of the central mountain, and
who later becomes Naja in some in some sense.
well, I'm not sure, but certainly emperors would come and pay homage to it, and
Right, right. So even during the Han Dynasty.
oh yeah, I'm not sure when the last one was, but there was the Empress Wu of the Tang. She made a very big sort of pilgrimage there, and yeah,
Yeah, she was quite a character, huh?
yeah. she was. She was also a patron of the Shaolin. So, but also Yung Le, the Yung Le sort of coup d'état, if you like to call it that. Which benefited Wudang, of course. I think Shaolin was also sort of somehow related to that. It was a kind of movement against the Confucian elite
to reestablish the mountains as the source of power.
yeah, and also the emperors. You see, the emperors and their relations, because they, the emperors would make their sort of younger brothers and people like that, into little mini kings, or well, actually not that many, but I mean, by Chinese standards, compared with the emperor, they were small, but by European standards, I mean, they were sort of could well be, European countries.
Yeah,
And
and the
they,
Tang Dynasty had these really big families, right?
yeah, and the Confucian scholars, the bureaucracy, they would be saying, well, look here, we don't need these petty kings, eating up all our revenue. We better kind of reduce their holdings or abolish them, right? And so they would sort of gang up, and they would be in cahoots with the Buddhists and Taoists, because also the Confucian scholars would be heading, be looking at the big temples and saying, look, why aren't they paying tax? Perhaps we need to increase the tax, or confiscate their holdings and turn it into public land or whatever. And so that wouldn't go down very well with the big monasteries.
Was that happening that early? I know that happened during the Ming Dynasty. Was that happening earlier too?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much sort of on and off. I mean, you get some. Well, towards the end of the Tang in the 9th century, there was one emperor decided to go the other way, and he, I'm not quite sure what lay behind it, but he had a big sort of persecution, and he tried to get a lot of monks back into circulation.
Oh, that's the finger bone story, right? Finger bone of the Buddha story.
What, the sort of relic of the Buddha, the finger bone?
Yeah. There was an anti-Buddhist movement. Somebody wrote something saying we shouldn't. There was a big worship event around the finger bone, and some government official, I think, wrote something and convinced the emperor that the society organized around the finger bone of some foreign, deity, as it were, was not a good idea for the country. And then
that's right. And well, I mean, it's a bit hard to defend some of the extravagance in temple building and pagoda building and ceremonies and worship and so on.
Well, I can defend it, but then I'm a dancer, so I can defend a lot of things that other people wouldn't defend. Speaking of dance, it's funny. I shared a room in Los Angeles, the conference in Los Angeles. I shared a room with a guy who wrote the book on the Wu Empress. I forget his name. Really nice guy. And he was like, when I read this era, whatever this is, was this like 6th, 7th century? They keep talking about the Sogdians dancing all the time. Like there's this some kind of whirling dance that the Sogdians from coming over from Persia or Samarkand are dancing a lot. And I don't know if you're going across that, or if that had anything to do with Shaolin at all, but it is kind of interesting that it was a pretty prominent feature of the era, that there was a lot of this Sogdian dance going on. And so I don't know if you had any comments.
Music.
And the music. Of course, the music lasted.
Yeah. Because the Chinese tradition basically is founded on the 5-note scale. But in the Tang Dynasty, or other, and possibly earlier, they basically were using 7-note scales, and from the Dunhuang manuscripts, there was one set of musical lyrics. Well, I say lyrics, I mean they had lyric titles, but the lyrics themselves were not there. But the notes were there, and there were certainly 7-note scales, and very probably either Persian or Indian in origin.
Yeah. When I was reading about this made it into my book. When I was reading about the tomb, there's these tomb traditions that happened in the Sung Dynasty where they were putting images of actors in the tomb, like theatrical presentations in the tomb. And in that book, that one of the things she explains, that it's an interesting name. I've forgotten her name too. I'll have to put a note below to the book, but it's like it's about tombs. And I was like, well, I just picked it up and thought, oh, maybe this is interesting. Turned out to be a fantastic book, really interesting. And it because it deals a lot with processions, because a lot of times processions are depicted, and these are theatrical processions. And but the original front door to Mount Wudang was what's called a pass-through stage. So it was an actual stage with a little tunnel under it.
Oh, yeah.
So that when you showed up for a festival, you showed up and there was a theater event, some there was the Monkey King story or whatever, something was going on up there. And to go into the temple, you had to pass underneath it. And she talks a lot about what this means, this passing, this kind of entering another realm. I don't know if a lot of people have probably seen Spirited Away, the cartoon from Japan, which really, I think, beautifully depicts this idea of being able to enter another world without really leaving the world. And
well, I think the Buddhists, the Buddhists and Taoists, of course, used theatre as a kind of propaganda tool, and festivals, and big performances.
But that would be the big question. Like, is there anything structural at Shaolin that would suggest a pass-through stage or something like that at the
most? I mean, I experienced a lot of stages like that in Taiwan, and they would be erected for the festival,
right,
and then
temporary
dismantled.
stages. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean they'd be sort of like takeaway components, so that you just assemble them, and then
well, the
the thing
bamboo
is over.
poles, bamboo poles with ties is an incredible technology, and there's so much variety for how you can build a stage that way. When I was in Hong Kong, I actually saw them putting up scaffoldings, bamboo scaffoldings to for repairing the facade of a skyscraper. It's, maybe a 10-story building, not too big.
I mean, it's like a steel tubing, which not that that I mean we use in our world, but
now they use zip tie. They still use bamboo, but they use zip ties instead of hand ties.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the way for thousands of years, probably.
It is incredible.
A ready-made scaffolding. Yeah. Amazing. And then you'd have a kind of roofing made of sort of bamboo woven leaves, and I mean it would everything would be from natural materials, and very light and easy to put up and dismantle. And
I guess they could also throw out a red felt, a big piece of red felt as the stage. You heard that before?
in well, certainly in Peking opera, that's what they would use because it's so absorbent, and you can do acrobatics on it brilliantly. Um, but I didn't see that in Taiwan. I think that's more the felt is coming obviously from, I suppose, some kind of animal hair, probably
Camel,
like
goat,
camels and.
sheep. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, that felt is kind of generally considered um, a northern type of material. Uh, in Taiwan, they would, and I didn't see that used. I don't think. I mean, and of course, unless it was sort of like an indoor stage, which they probably would have imported it from Beijing or something. Um, so, but anyway, that was certainly in North China. That would have been probably the rule. Yeah.
But it would have been great for practicing throws too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. For yeah, wrestling. The yeah, that I mean that was again that kind of wrestling is a kind of northern thing. Yeah, I mean the southern stuff would be more like sort of Thai, Thai kickboxing or something. Um, but yeah, for the northern ones, they would be rolling on this on the felt, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be great to have some evidence of the large amounts of felt at Shaolin. That would certainly be a a great boon to our account. Even just like a a document saying we bought this much felt, or something. That would be great.
Well, I think they would probably just use the dirt because you had this sort of very fine sort of what they call the loess in North China, which sort of blows out from all over the place, and it's kind of quite soft underfoot, probably.
Well, in India, in Benares, when I was
Mm.
there, I went every morning to do my practice and watch the wrestlers, the monkey wrestlers who get up at the same time I do. They get up even a little earlier than I do, to do ambulations. I forget what they're called, where you wash yourself very complicated ways. All the holes
Mm.
in your body get washed in the Ganges, and then you go and you do some workout with big clubs and ropes and stuff. They had all
Yeah,
kinds
the
of discipline.
gajas. Is it gaja?
No,
The
no,
get.
no. That
Oh no.
oh, well, what did you say? Kacha? What's the
Is there
name?
a club called a gaja or something?
So, there's all kinds of clubs. The only clubs I saw
Mm.
were actually steel bars with chunks of concrete on the end.
Oh God.
There were, yeah, these were some serious bars, and these were really good wrestlers. Um,
Mm.
and they had a temple. It was four posts, with a little a border around the base. Maybe a 1 foot high border around the base, uh, and um, and it was the size of a boxing ring, and it had a peaked temple, a peaked. It was a looked like a temple. It was a little peak roof, and and they would go through the first thing that they would do before wrestling is they'd take a shovel and they'd fluff up all the dirt. So they had about a foot of soft dirt in there, soft dry dirt or soil, and they fluff it up. They'd go around, even it out, and fluff it up, and then they'd start wrestling in it. It's pretty great.
Yeah, there's also like in the Iran, probably Turkey, places like that. Um, it sort of connects with that sort of northern strand. I think North India, probably Pakistan, Iran. They also have clubs, I think, for exercising.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Ropes and poles. They also have a lot of pole exercises, things they do on climbing on poles in various ways, balancing on poles. There's an entire
Mm.
elaborate tradition of pole work. and they had those, which is, it's a little bit like jumping from tree to tree. And all of these people were monkey wrestlers. They were emulating Hanuman.
Yeah.
And there's a competition, and the at the end of the year, and the winner leads the parade, which is a depiction of the Ramayana. So it's yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Atler wrote about that. What's his name? Joseph Atler. But yeah, I actually saw it before I read his book. It was like,
what's his book called?
It's called the Wrestler's Body.
Okay.
It's quite good. It's quite good. It hasn't, it was sort of before martial arts studies had really gotten anywhere, and he wrote it by himself, and now he does other stuff. It's like, I was thinking of interviewing him though. All right. So we have this great plan to talk about, what's his name? Wu Yuxiang.
Right.
Let's see if I can.
Wu family. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if I can find. Isn't there a better way to do this? Let me make this a little bigger. Oops. Well, I don't remember how to do that. Can I make these images bigger? Oh well. Let's find it. So last time we talked, we had a little trouble finding the classical Chinese, but I have found the classical Chinese here.
There we are.
All right, what's it say?
13 postures, practice, training.
Gong. That's gong, right? Gong.
Yeah.
Training the heart.
Okay. The mind. Yeah. Well, the Xinjie means a kind of like, I think it's like the core explanations. So these, most of these words would go together in pairs. So you've got the practice, training, and the kind of the mind or core explanations, the mental. It could be some people translate it the mental explanation, which doesn't seem to add very much. I mean, it's not. This is not really about psychology, principally. I would say it's more about like this is the essence. This is the core. Theory.
The heart. The heart of training. Something like that.
The heart of, understanding or interpretation. It's like, this is the inner, this is the internal secret, as it were. But yeah, I mean, of course, the mind is directing.
Well, that's the first line right here.
Yeah,
right?
it does. That's right.
So basically, usually translated, the heart moves the chi or something like that.
Yeah, the mind or heart, which in Chinese are basically written the same way, moves the air, the oxygen, or the chi.
Yeah, this that's a setup here. I think that the use of chi in this is maybe counterintuitive. So let's just keep that in mind.
Okay.
Then this is like if you can make it sink, then it gathers in the bones, right?
You sink the breath, or whatever it is.
This is a sink. Is this?
Yeah, that's sink, right? And so you take it so that you strive to make it sink firmly, I would say, 撑住 or 撑着, like 修炼入骨. So then you can absorb it into the bones, literally.
So it's something that's a little strange, right? It's something that can be sunk and yet something that can go into the bones.
Right.
Is it what is it? You're translating this as absorb? What's character is that?
Yeah, it's Shaolin. It's like show is like take it in, receive it. Lian is kind of like collect it. So, and then Rugo means enter the bones or into the bones.
Ah, okay. And yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, they're one of the ways so it's a common immortal death for Taoists in an early explanation is that they've studied the Tao Te Ching so much that it's written on their bones. And so there are some relics, as it were, of bones that have the Tao Te Ching inscribed in them. I've been told.
Heavy.
And anyway, this basic idea that it's actually it's a kind of metaphor for knowing something really, really well, right? That it actually you become it.
Right. Well, by the way,
So all right, so something's written on the bones, whatever that means, and then this usually gets
well, my
translated.
teacher would, in Taiwan would have said, you actually absorb it into the bone, into the marrow,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Okay.
So there's a statement, right? Like there's a metaphoric version and there's an actually do it version. But what does it really mean to put something into your bones? That's why I'm suggesting that the metaphor actually could be the same thing as the practice.
Well, if qi is oxygen, I mean, that's the key to life, isn't it? I mean, you need, all life needs oxygen.
They say when you're starving, you can actually feel the marrow nourishing you
Is that
from
right?
inside. I've heard some stories. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can, even if you've been starving for a long time, your femur bones will crack open for the marrow to nourish you.
Right. You could just
That's an
chew on a bone, right?
well, it's from the inside, but they must have seen
Okay.
China. There's so much starvation. They must have seen a lot of versions of this.
Yeah, not a pleasant thought, but
No. All right. So here we go. The chi moves the body. Something like that.
And so we got a repetition here. So strive to make it, as it were. Wuling shun sui. So try to make it smooth and compliant. And then you can comfortably or conveniently follow the mind, or then it will conveniently or smoothly follow the mind.
You like mind here rather than heart?
Well, we tend to associate heart with love, don't we, rather than thought or intention.
Well, passion. passion.
yeah, we tend to consider the heart as emotional or emotive, whereas the Chinese tended to think of it more possibly intellectually.
Yeah, but it means something else here. I mean, it doesn't mean either of those,
I
right?
mean, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, you can't exclude one or the other. I mean, it's all there, I think. But yeah, I mean, just like the other classic says, follow the your desire, as it were. Um, so it's like you've got to have um, sort of motivation, which obviously implies an emotive um, causation. Um,
But
so
but these two lines here are saying something about how you sync up the process so that it right it
yeah,
is about an order of action. Yeah.
yeah,
All right. So then
it's got to come from the heart as well, you know, or the mind, whatever
yeah
you want to call it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Presumably because that, I mean, the way I always heard it is because that's the fastest reacting thing. So when you fight, you want to fight as fast as possible. So it has to come from the heart. That's
Oh,
the
I
way
see
I
what you
heard it.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Obviously, it's not I, it's not something you're going to have a lot of time to think about. Um,
Well,
well, I suppose like in Zen, of course, you know, it's again, it's from the heart, whatever,
yeah, the Heart
however we
Sutra. Yeah.
translate that,
Yeah.
which in the Western terms is usually called the mind, but in like the Heart Sutra, I mean, is that should that be the Mind Sutra? Should it be the Mental Sutra?
Well, but Marnix, the fundamental issue here, and that I think, and I think this uh, this whole thing is about this issue is, you know, something we might call precognitive or unconscious or
Mm-hmm.
working in trance, or, you know,
Yeah,
we're trying to set up a situation so that the body just does what it does. You
good
don't
point. Yeah,
have
good
to.
point,
Yeah.
Scott. Yeah, sure. Uh, yeah, so yeah, the thing is, our language has got skewed another way. So we have to kind of unskew it if we're going to sort of try to find out, you know, the inner meaning. I suppose you know it's a difficult one because you know the language we've got to use is kind of not quite fit for purpose.
All right. So
We need algebra, I think.
we need to graduate. So here we got Jingshan, the famous Jingshan, the most
Right.
Jingshan having some specialized meaning here in this text.
Mm.
Bao Jingshan meaning is the most common thing I heard when I was studying Chinese, which is you're not paying attention. You know, wake up. Jingshan means, so Jingshan in sort of popular language means like attention or awareness, but of course it's Jing Qi Shan, right? And this sentence here is about qi and heart, and
Mm-hmm.
or these two sentences, and then suddenly we have this concept of Jingshan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think of as the fused relationship between the spatial imagination and the physical body, but that's
Mm-hmm.
debatable. So the Jingshan what can it do?
Good. Well, if you can raise it up, so in other words, possibly you've got to kind of wake it up, um, concentrate it, energize. You've got to energize basically.
But there's no
Uh,
concentration word here, is there, specifically?
no, well, no, it's more about sort of raising up.
Yeah.
Uh, T, T means to lift, and Chi means to sort of rise. Um, so you got to kind of perk up, as it were.
I like it. And then you'll avoid these major problems here.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't want to be kind of slow or clumsy, heavy. You don't want to be heavy and clumsy. You've got to be nimble. So okay, so
Well, this is a
use
variant. What a character is that? That's similar to emptiness.
that's you. You means like worry or concern. So that if if you can sort of raise your spirits up or your attention or whatever,
Yeah.
then you don't need to worry about being slow or clumsy or unbalanced.
And you'll also there's something else you're gonna have. That means also. So you're gonna have something else also, right?
Yeah. Well, this is a kind of like a definition or encapsulament of the previous meaning.
Yeah.
In kind of physical illustrations of the crown of the head being suspended. Ding to xuan. Xuan is hanging. So in other words, the crown of your head is suspended. So it means you're not slumped down. You're not looking at the floor. You're kind of looking straight ahead, and you kind of got a lightness to your head. It's like sort of floating or being suspended.
Well, I mean, I think we should examine that a little bit because, it is an illusion that there is any up, right? We have gravity and that's it. There's no other force acting on us. We have gravity and we basically have to figure out how to balance on top of our feet. And
yeah,
so
we've got to combat gravity in a sense, because we don't want to sort of we have to sort of get up onto our feet, to act, to do anything. So we can't be slumped down, and so that means we've got to kind of get vertical rather than horizontal, right?
but this whole sentence is what it's saying is that if you get this to happen, none of this will be a problem, right? You won't your head will already be up, right? It's like, if I practice balancing something on my head, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I don't need to have an up, right? I just need to
sure.
balance it there, right?
Yeah,
And so it's actually just about the correct orientation to space is what I would say, something
right.
like that there is
Yeah,
and
but you've got
yeah.
you've got good posture now. When we have to see you there,
You
right?
have
So,
good posture too, by the way. Um, I just
well,
not in that
try.
particular seat. You need a better seat. Um, uh, the the yeah, what exactly is this Jingshan? I mean, I think it's the fruition of the golden elixir. That's what I think is being described here. Is that
Yeah.
you can then once you've actually established the relationship between Jing Qi and Shan, it's not explicitly saying this, but it's implied. Then you can use your spatial imagination to create an imaginary up, because there is no real up. Create an imaginary up, which allows you to continuously reorient without any stagnation, without
Right.
any weightedness, without any compression even.
Right.
All right, so so here we have the intended chi, and we have this very important character here, Ling, which is three witches tied up out in the rain with their mouths open, which is the most horrific character. It also means they put that on tombs to mean there's a corpse in here. But of course, it means it's something akin to our to the English slippery fingers. You know, it means agility, right?
Mhm.
It means very lively, but often translated as spirit. So what's this
It
one?
could be. It could be the kind of they're praying for rain, and they got it, and
Yeah, but they're not
it's
being
like
executed. I thought that was an
it's.
execution.
Didn't think so. I mean, basically, what we would call the witches in China were important for praying for rain, and in this case, you've got the rain coming down, and as you pointed out, the three mouths, and then the symbol for shaman or shamaness underneath.
For
Um,
dancing.
yeah, yeah. Also dancing. Yeah. Well, yeah. That all goes together, right? So you pray by dancing and dance by praying, and then the heavens will open and rain will come down, and it's like a sort of like a sort of nectar. So maybe you got your mouth up and it's just going straight down his throat.
Well, anyway, there's the character itself. Someone described this character to me as this character, but the taboo version. Of course, it's used in classical Chinese, like in the Lingshu, like for medicine.
Yeah.
So
No, I
but it,
wouldn't say it's taboo. Mind you, of course, taboo. And another way to look at taboo is holy, holy of holies. So it's. I wouldn't say it's kind of negative. In usually it has a fairly positive sense, I think, of spirituality.
well, and so we have this phrase here, and then we have um, something of great value
Mm,
is had, and then you have here, well, you have the character for emptiness.
mhm.
Was this a character for happiness? Is that le? No.
No, that's bien. Bien is like to change,
Oh, that's
transform.
bien. Yeah, we've been through that
Yeah,
character. Sorry, got that mixed up.
yeah.
But you can see the drums there in bien, right?
Um,
Making it a little bit bigger here, there.
mhm.
Oh, the
How do you
silk.
see the drums there?
Oh, these are silk pieces of silk on the top there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the derivation of the origin of that character. I mean, it's got the word for sort of running underneath, so it implies movement, and on top you've got silk and words in the middle. Um,
Right. Yeah, interesting character, isn't it? All right.
yeah, it was probably originally. It might, sometimes the picture gets altered over time.
Well, we can check
Uh,
that really quick because I do
yeah.
have a handy dictionary here that
Okay.
will show the older usage. Yeah. Well, it's just there's
Yeah.
the
So what?
transcript version.
Well, yeah. In you still got the top is still the same. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how you match the silk with the speech in the middle. Sometimes they put in the speech bits just to show that it's only used for sound.
Yeah.
So that may be the reason that it's here, rather than to actually contribute to the meaning of it. Um,
Fair enough.
there's over time these words get turned around and changed. So in this case, we're just talking about revolving and interchanging between empty and full. And the previous one, we've got an image of a circular movement, sort of like rolling a ball. So you've got a very kind of lively sort of picture of interchange and movement.
So the E and Chi have a kind of Ling relationship. Is that what it's saying? That the exchange between E and Chi is one of liveliness.
Yeah, yeah. Ling is also can also mean magic, but in this case, metaphorically. So it's like very smooth, fast, uninterrupted. It's a bit like sort of Mercury, I suppose. Very kind of almost magical.
So and then emptiness is contrasted with substance here. You're changing between sub. This is
no, yeah, the one after that one is substance. Yeah, so you've got the one before it is rotation.
Right, because there's the cart.
Yeah, that's right. You've got the wheel and the cart. Yeah. Okay.
So dynamic rotation between, or changing rotation between emptiness and fullness also.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Here we have our very happy character for Jin again. So Fajin, this is Fajin.
Mm-hmm. So it's you spurt out, or shoot out. Jin.
And this is,
and you concentrate on one direction. So it's all kind of going in one particular line.
and this is wait, this is Sung. Sung is here too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sung, and so release cleanly. So you've got on the one hand, you've got sinking firmly and then releasing cleanly. Or relaxing, letting go. So it's like shooting the arrow. So you
sinking firmly and releasing accurately.
Well, literally, it's clean. So in other words, it's not. It's kind of pure. It's not sort of diluted or muddied. It's kind of. It's like like a piece of well-oiled machinery.
So, but yeah. So there's this idea of Sung as a clean release, as a completely let go, something like that.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
All right, and then something. Here's the body again, and this and the center on.
Okay, you've got Zheng Zheng centered, correct, or straight. So the body should be centered, aligned.
Upright.
Upright, aligned. A good posture and comfortable.
What's on? What's this on?
And it's like comfortable. You're at ease, comfortable, relaxed. So you're straight, but you're not stiff, right? You're kind of at ease, relaxed, comfortable.
What's this character I have in green?
That one is like it's the one in, say, you know the word shufu, comfortable. Uh,
Oh, like close. Yeah.
ni shufu bu shufu. Are you comfortable? Yeah. So that shu, it means sort of like, it's almost like you're letting it, you know, you say in America, sort of let it all hang out, as it were. So let go, you know, just relax, take it easy, um, you know, be at ease, don't be uptight, etc. So
And this is the 8 directions.
yep, you're kind of balanced in eight directions, or literally you're supporting the 8 directions. It's like you're a pillar. Um, you're aligned in all directions so that you know you can support the building because you're bang in the center. And you know, if you're sort of like leaning, then you're going to possibly topple over. So that when you're straight, you're kind of you're even, right? If you have a you know, what do you call it? Uh, you have something to measure the horizontal.
A level, a level.
Yeah, the spirit level. Yeah, we call it
Yeah.
spirit level. Or, yeah, you could have a mercury level.
Or
Uh,
but
and
I find this not credible.
mhm.
I mean, to me, this is one of the most either misunderstood or intentionally deceptive parts of the text, and I actually think it may have been put here to deceive, because you certainly can do something with, you know, a perfectly center aligned body. It's
Mhm.
it has some, but in actuality, there if we follow any of the rest of this, what we're going to have is something very dynamic, something
Yeah,
very large.
I think you know we have to take it as a kind of bear in mind it says comfortable, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you've got to kind of worry. You know, am I sort of 100% straight all the time? Because I mean that would also create problems, wouldn't it? So yeah, I mean I think you've got to sort of balance that idea with the idea that you know you've got to kind of sway. You've got to sway with the you know with the wind or whatever.
But
Uh,
it has this 8 directions concept, and suggesting that maybe you have to master being able to move in all 8 directions with every part of your body.
yeah, I guess so because you know if you've got the kind of centered balance, it doesn't mean you got to stay there all the time, does it? I mean, as long as you come back to the center, you'll be like you know like the Dharma doll or the you know any kind of weighted
Right. Or
balance.
the drunken master, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you know you might appear to be off balance, but you're not really because you haven't actually lost the that kind of central feeling, but you're just adapting to the forces so that you know whether it be dancing or fighting, um, you know you have the idea of the central balance, but it doesn't mean that you have to stand rigid all the time, obviously, because that would be very stiff and presumably uncomfortable.
All right. What's the next line here? Something a double negative here. Don't do this and don't do that.
uh, yeah, um, it could almost be sometimes 3 negatives.
Yeah, they
Um,
love that. This is the pearls.
um, yeah, this is. I think this comes from the story of the ant, which could, because they had this. When we say a pearl, it may not actually be a literal pearl, because the same word is also used for a, it's like a spherical gem. So it might be, well, it might actually be a pearl, but this pearl has got a probably got a spiral hole in it, a spiral perforation.
With nine circles.
Yeah, well,
You know,
nine bend pearl. So that means it probably means it's been perforated in such a way that there's a spiral inside, like going around possibly 9 times, and you've got to be able to thread it, which nobody could do. So some genius, you remember the story?
no, keep going, keep going.
He got a thread and he tied it to an ant, and somehow he persuaded this ant to climb through the hole and out the other side, drawing the thread after it. So
Sort
it
of
was able to thread that pearl or that sphere.
some Herculean task. Um, I when I was at Umeshan, um, I spent the night on Umeshan, and there was a right near where I was staying. So the sun was just going down,
Wow.
and there was a cave. They're like, go visit the cave. And somebody told me, so I ran down this pathway to try and save time before the sun was going down.
Oh my God.
And the cave, what the cave was uh, a nine circles going down
Oh wow. Yeah.
all the way down. And at the very bottom was an altar. I think it was some sort of altar having to do with hell, but I'm not positive. Um,
Did
but
you
as
manage to stop in time?
well, I got right when I got to the bottom, the
Yeah.
bats started coming out. So
Oh,
I was just swarmed by bats, just
right.
coming out the nine. They also can travel through a nine
Oh yeah.
circle thing.
Yeah. Huh,
I don't know.
good. Yeah.
Pretty cool though. All right. So this is like, but what does this mean? I mean, what does this mean, really? We got the
Uh,
story.
it means you've got to somehow get the chi. Well, the way I would see it, you've got to get it into the capillaries. In other words, you've got to get it right down into the smallest kind of blood vessels, or to the smallest part of the body, to every cell in the body, as it were.
So it has to go everywhere. All right. And then
Yeah,
so then we start the next sentence with Tong, right? Is this Tong?
yun, yun.
Yun?
It's yun. It's yun dong. Move.
Okay, so move the Jin.
Deploy your move. Yeah. Yeah. So that you got Jin again, right? So like 9 tempered steel, 9 times. Oh, sorry, not 9. I mean 100.
Oh, this is tempered steel. Gong.
Yeah, yeah. Ling gang. Yeah,
Gong.
tempered steel. So you're kind of refining 100 times refined steel. So it's got all the impurities knocked out of it. Um, well, actually, all the oxygen, right? Isn't it? Because you have to, because when steel is oxygenated, it becomes iron and rusty. So what you've got to do in this case, it's kind of like the opposite of the previous one. So you have to knock out the chi if that is oxygen.
Okay, mobilize
So
it,
you've got
and then this is what two things again, double knot without
correct.
this and not that.
Yeah, yeah.
What are the things
So,
that
okay, so in other words, everything hard is smashed. So there's no hard substance which is unsmashed, unbroken.
Oh, so like that's supposedly what the Persians did to the Tibetans to get them to leave Afghanistan.
Yeah. What did they do?
They left no mortar unsmashed.
Wow.
Right. So this
when
is
was that? When did that happen?
Yeah, that would have been about the 7th century, something like that. So pretty early on. So all right, so these two sentences are contrast.
Yeah.
So
yeah, on the one hand you've got this incredibly hard thing, and the other thing you've got it doesn't actually say soft, but you kind of feel it's soft.
So here's my take. By going from what we were talking about previously up here, you have this upright orientation, but it's mobile in all 8 directions. Very dynamically mobile in all 8 directions, and it has to be so mobile that there's nothing that you can't move, right? It's all liquid, or it's all gas. It's all lively and active, right? And then there's this thing that happens that is like sprung steel. It's like ding, it comes out. It can come out suddenly, and it has and there's nothing.
Well, I've just got to let the dog out. So.
Yeah. There's nothing left.
Okay, I'm back.
Very good. So
right.
So to me, this is again talking about an involuntary process. You have to be so lively and agile in all directions that you can trigger this event involuntarily. It's sudden. So it doesn't become hard. Oh, look who's here.
Sorry, Joyce, can sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Hi, Scott. I'm back. Sorry. Okay.
So and then
this
involuntary process happens that is kind of that's an unstoppable force. It will crush anything that's stiff.
Yeah, it doesn't say involuntary, but yeah, it will break. It's doesn't quite explain how it happens, except that you've got to move the chi, and
well, my take
and
again, on
it, and then you move the jin. Yeah.
But my take on it is it's involuntary. So if I'm jogging in place and I lean forward, my foot will spring automatically forward.
Yeah.
Like that suddenly go. So you can trigger it, but you're triggering something involuntary to happen.
Yeah. So you've got chi paired with jin. So the second character here is paired with the second character there.
Yeah.
Which is jin. So you've got chi, jin. So how are you translating jin? Are you translating it?
I would call it an involuntary force that spontaneously organizes the body without effort. Something like that. That's like I use a whole sentence.
So the implication is that it comes from chi, or it works in parallel with qi.
Yeah, in other words, this condition has to be met. The completely the complete permeation of qi throughout. It doesn't even say the body here, just permeation of qi.
Right.
And then this thing that is there, it's already there. You just have to let it happen. All right, what's this? What, there's a shape here. So we have the word xing for shape, and we have shun for gods. What's and this one, what is that? Looks like a fish.
That's a rabbit
Oh, it's
or
a
a
rabbit.
hare.
Oh, okay.
A rabbit or a hare. And it's so again, we've got the parallel here between Xing shape and Shen spirit or God. So you've got, on the one hand, you've got the physical, on the other hand, you've got the invisible, the spiritual. So that you're in appearance, you're like a hawk catching a rabbit or a hare, and in your spirit, again, it's very similar meaning, although it's in this terms, and it's in terms of spirit rather than form. But okay, so here we got you're like a cat catching a rat.
This is the cat, and this is
That's
the
a
rat,
cat.
and this is the
Yeah,
rat.
correct.
Yeah,
So
fascinating.
so your form and your spirit are basically in tune. You're working as one.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Here, we got another sentence here. This one has a mountain in it.
Yep. So this is like the fourth one and the first line there is the same one which they used for like what I call the mountain ranges, like the central range. So Zhongyue, the like in with next to Taishi, next to Shaoshi, the home of Shaolin. So you've got the Shanyue, it's a mountain range. So you're still you're in tranquil as a mountain range, and in motion like the like the surging rivers, like the Yangtze and the Yellow River. So it's like unstoppable. You've got this, on the one hand, you've got this sort of immovable mountain. On the other hand, you've got this kind of unstoppable flow.
So these two things, the shape, right, and the spirit are aligned, right? But then you have, again, so maybe the parallelism here, that the shape itself is actually, its underlying nature is tranquil, which gives it kind of solidity like a mountain, whereas the spirit is wildly moving like like surging water, like you know, like a waterfall splashing or something.
Yeah, it's like one is the precondition, like the you know the river flows, but it comes from the mountain, it doesn't flow.
That's good.
Right. So you've got, on the one hand, you have the form and you have the spirit, you have the mountain, you have the river. So that although they're kind of opposites, but they're complementary. They work together in harmony, and they need each other. They can't exist on their own. So just like when we learn the form, I mean, you learn the form. What is the form? The form is nothing, right? It's just a lot of sort of strange movements or postures. But then when you got the spirits, you got the Shen, you got the Jin, you got the Qi, then it comes alive, you know. It's but if you haven't sort of, you know, if you haven't got the right positions, it's not going to work, right? So you you've got both sides, you know, you've got the left and the right.
Yeah, but no, it's great. It's great parallelism. All right, so what what's this
Chinese are
about?
very big on parallels. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's this about? We have
Uh,
Shujin,
yeah. In other words, accumulate or store up,
Shujin, and then what kind of Jin do we have here?
gather together. So here you have the opposite. Here you have the release. Again, it's quite literally the bow and arrow, right? So it was kind of implied before, but here it's kind of spelled out. Here you've got the storage of energy in drawing the bow, and then the release of energy, shooting energy, like letting the arrow fly.
So this is bow.
Yeah, that is quite literally a picture of a bow on the left side,
Yeah, right here.
and on the right it's kind of just means extension or the lengthening. Here again you have the actual picture of a bow, which is on the left side of the previous one, and then here you have the arrow,
Oh, this
and
is
you've got
that's the bow.
hmm?
That's the
that is
bow.
the bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually the picture of a bow, and then you've got the Fajin like releasing the arrow, and on the top of the arrow you've got sort of bamboos to show that your arrow is actually a bamboo, and the bit underneath is kind of for the sound, I think.
Whoosh.
Well, in Chinese, arrow is jian. So you've just got the bamboo to indicate what it's made of.
Cool.
The things at the top, the little squiggles at the top mean are the word for bamboo.
Right. Ban.
Right. So you've got chen and then bamboo on top, but actually together it's pronounced jian, and that means arrow. Yeah.
All right. What's our next sentence?
Right. This is all very philosophical and scientific. You've got the so in the bent you look for the straight. So in other words, you bend for the purpose of releasing. So after you release it, the bow will straighten out, right? So you seek the straights in the bent. So it's like when you bend your leg, right? You do it so you can straighten it. In other words, if you want to run, walk, or make any movement, you first bend and then you straighten. So you store and then you release.
So this
The
whole
word
thing
for
sort of
release
fits
has also
together,
got
right?
bow in it. Hmm?
So
Right?
it sets it up with this bow and arrow thing, and then this whole
Yeah.
thing is sort of one idea, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the next, this bit is, and the following bit is talking about the spine.
Where's the spine? Where's the character for spine here?
There.
This one.
The third character here, and the next one. Yeah. Sorry.
This one.
Yeah, that's it. Right. So then you got the fa after that. So the force is from the spine released.
But it actually says that the spine is sung, right?
Hmm?
Or that's fa.
Fa.
That's
Fa.
fa.
Fa, yeah. The spine. So it means that you sort of slightly bend the spine to sort of release.
Does it really mean that? Is that really necessary?
Well, it's not. It doesn't. Yeah, it does come from the spine. The bending is actually perhaps not usually from the spine, but the limbs are connected to the spine. So from that point, it does come from the spine.
So so this body here is like the steps come from the body's changing, something like that.
Yeah.
This, but so are we talking body here? Maybe means torso, not legs.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, but it's tricky because I think this is widely one of the most misunderstood concepts here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would argue that the stepping is, and the release of the of the spine is not actually the source of the power.
Right.
It's just happens. It's just something that happens. It's
Well, it's as I said, it's like this sort of anchor. You've got to have a sort of base. You've got to have a stable base. Otherwise, you're just going to flop over probably. Um, so yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't mean that your spine has to bend, but it means that your arms and your legs have got to be connected, obviously. And without the spine, you wouldn't be able to do it.
well, so this is Li. This is strength, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this is what is this character?
This character here means like from. It just means from, like from the back, from the spine. So
Could this mean back instead of spine? Or is it
yeah,
literally? It could just mean back.
yeah.
Oh, so let's try that again. Strength from the back releases.
Right.
The stepping
Mm.
follows the movement of the body
Uh,
or the torso.
yeah, the steps follow the body in alternating. So the body is kind of, in a sense, the same as the back, I suppose, or the spine. It means that you're, as I see it, yeah, it's kind of like a spontaneous thing when you're walking. You don't have to think about, okay, I'm moving my legs. You just will your body in a certain direction, and hey presto, your legs will follow along, sort of almost like you're sort of sliding or on kind of like wheels. You're just going to go in that direction, and it would just flow.
Yeah, so I think that part of the reason this gets misunderstood is people are actively looking to gather some kind of force which is going to be released. But I think in actuality the capacity to release is a constant. There is no need to gather per se. There's no conscious act of gathering. you can release from anywhere at any time.
Right.
All right, what here, this is
Okay, so the next one we've got this show, in other words, the receiving or absorbing word at the beginning here, which that's the word we found before. Where was that? I think, yeah, that was here. Oh, sorry. Was it, where was it?
I can find that. I can
I
do
think
a
we
search.
did have that, didn't we?
Yes,
Where was
right
it?
up here.
Oh yeah. And just after, when you absorb into the bone, as it were.
Yes, yeah, absorb into the
So
bone.
here we've got. Okay, so again we've got show as against fang. Fang being released, and then there. Oh, sorry, fang, and then show fang. So, in other words, you're kind of absorbing, releasing. You're taking it in, throwing it out. You're cutting and then connecting. To and fro, as if you are folding. So this is, yeah, that's folding. Jedias is like you're doubling up. Sort of, it's like a repetitive kind of to and fro movement. So you're constantly going back and forwards, advancing, retreating, exchanging, alternating. Okay, that's kind of, it's kind of repeated in different ways, I think, there. So the most dramatic is, so there's cutting and then reconnecting. So it's like, sometimes you might think that, the movement has stopped, but it's kind of a temporary illusion. It's constantly going on, back and forth, even though there might appear to be breaks here and there.
It's like being on a balance board. Something.
Yeah.
Maybe it goes this way, maybe it goes this way, but you still have to stay on top, right? It's something.
Yeah.
Very very lively description of the phenomena. I think this is a description of the way. Actually, I think this entire thing is a description of the way in which Jin arises.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will suddenly come out and be gone, and then suddenly it's back, and then suddenly it's gone. It's this phenomenon that passes through the body. I would say that it's a natural function of the body, that because we can stand up, right? We can't just stand up. We would fall over but it's unconscious how we stand up. Like, in other words, your body is constantly self-correcting in order to not fall over. It's constantly changing, and that's a kind of stiff wave that passes through your body in this way and this way. And you don't normally see it. If you talk to somebody like this, they think there's something wrong with you. But while you're moving, while you're swaying. But in Taiji, the idea is that phenomena itself is the method.
Yeah. It goes on unending.
All right. We almost got to the end of this section. Let's see if we can cover that last bit there.
Yeah.
Before bedtime.
Okay, this is the extreme of softness. And then you get the extreme of hardness.
So this is hardness.
The Jen Gong is like brittle hardness. So this is exactly the word we encountered. We encountered, like, Gong is also similar to steel. So you've got in the top there, the top of this paragraph. No, there's no, sorry, this particular paragraph. We got steel, right? And then you've got this hardness.
This one, right? This one here.
Yeah, you've got
goes to a
this
comparison.
steel, which is similar, well, same pronunciation as that one, gong. And then you've got jian, which is a hard, which is the second one of the following line here, the top.
Oh,
So
yeah, this one.
yeah, here, no, in the next one. No, next sentence, next line. Oh, sorry,
here.
next phrase.
Where am I?
At the top. Go back to gong at the top. Yeah, right. Then move forward. Move forward a couple. Yeah, that one. That's your hard. That's your kind of rigid.
I see. Without hardness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. And I think we get
there's
it.
That's what you're saying is this character is right
Yeah,
down
that's
here.
the same as that one. Yeah. And I think didn't it come up at the very beginning? If we go right up to the top, let me see. Didn't it come somewhere? Maybe not. No, maybe I didn't see it. No. That's all. So that okay, now you come back to the breath, which is what we started with. So if you can exhale and inhale. We see. So in China, you always talk about exhaling first, and then you inhale. So in other words, you empty, and then you fill.
So can you say this?
Hu xi, yeah, hu xi. And then you can be ling again, magic. The witch is brew, right? So then
what?
you can
Ling what? What's this?
Then you can be alive. You can be lively. You can be
so double
so
lively.
You can be sort of like magically alive. You can be how did we translate it? Ling is kind of like very, very flexible, sensitive. That's another word which is often used with ling.
You often hear agile. I like it's a thief has to be ling, right?
A what?
A thief. A thief.
Oh, a thief.
Yeah. Or like from your like from the pheasant cap master, you have the night walker, right?
Yeah.
Has to be ling.
Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out what the night walker is, whether it be a star or a messiah.
But it could be a cat burglar.
In the New Testament, it is said about the apocalypse that he will come like the Messiah will come like a thief in the night. So in other words, he will be undetected. In this case, like in pushing hands, we talk about these, sticking, following sticking, which you have to be very linghuo, very, very sensitive, flexible, in order to do that. So that it's the opposite of being sort of stiff and clumsy and insensitive. Ling is also something used for the senses, right? If you are able to, detect some very slight sound, or you can actually kind of see something which is very small and hardly visible, that could be called ling. So you've got almost like a magical perception, very sensitive receptivity for data, sense data.
So you have this incredible softness and extraordinary hardness, kind of like breathing in and out, like, or breathing out and in, and then suddenly, like that the fruition, right? So it's sort of like your liveliness, your lively to capacity to pass between extreme softness and hardness will just be as easy as the breath or something.
Well, it means that you've got to know how to breathe. So in other words, I think as it told you at the beginning, you've got to kind of sink the breath into your bones.
But it doesn't repeat that here.
No, it just says if you can breathe, if you can inhale, exhale, and inhale. So it doesn't go into it again. But see, I think it harks back to the beginning.
But now I don't think so. I'll disagree with you here. I think look, it's the breath. There is something about the breath that's really, really important, and that's that normal people are compressing their body in the way they breathe in order to signal that they're normal. And when you meet someone whose breath is just has no restriction, that they're like an immortal. There's no breathing inhibition at all, right? And so the last step in all of this letting go is that there's no inhibition in the breathing, and the way you would know that is that you can pass between soft and hard without a second thought.
Right. Yeah. Well, some people maybe may do it in different ways, but yeah, Zhuangzi said the ultimate man breathes through his heel, I think.
Indeed, yeah, the Junrun, yeah.
Yeah, the Junrun. So, yeah, breathing is, we all have to do it, of course, but people, as you say, people are constricted, and they don't perhaps use their capacity, and so they kind of deprive themselves of the possibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this would be better, though, if it actually referenced Zhuangzi directly here and just said, this is the same thing as Zhuangzi breathing through the heels. That would be great if it said that here. Because I think that is what it means. The other thing about Ling, of course, and the reason I mentioned the taboo thing is that you probably have not seen nearly as many Asian horror movies as I have.
True.
But
true.
I can guarantee you, whenever something is left, something really horrible is left from a crime or from a death, or sometimes it's a picture taken of a ghost. That's always called Ling. That's always referred to as Ling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, in popular usage, yeah, you're probably correct. It's usually used probably for ghosts, but yeah, I don't think this is what the except in the sense that ghosts and spirits, I mean, they're very you can't actually grab hold of them. They're very elusive. They're very subtle. So these qualities, perhaps the good qualities, not the scary qualities, but
I think
it is. You're right. It's just it is the word they use for ghosts and sort of
which would imply here. I'm going to go ahead and walk out on this limb with you. See if you can walk out with me. the entire thing here is actually a fa shi description of a method master who has mastered the breath or the elements of their body, their interaction with Jingshan, with awareness,
Mm-hmm.
with how things transmute between the heart and the bones. All of this stuff is it when it's mastered, you actually have, in a sense, the power of the ghosts, right? You
Yeah,
have
sure.
the underlying power of the spirit realm.
Yeah. No, I agree. Except hopefully you're not going to use it for bad purposes, but you're not going to use it to scare people and frighten them out of their lives.
Just get their money. It's just to get their money. Yeah.
Okay, sure, it's fine. You're an American. What would you expect?
Yeah, I mean that's what Ling is, right? Money is Ling, right? It's
No, I didn't mean it.
uh,
Okay.
for us. Yeah. Anyway, that is the I anyway, I just thought that would be useful because
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that is good. Yeah.
and the concept of possession there, right? Deity possession is
Mm,
like that it takes hold of your form, right? It takes hold of your
mm,
form.
mm,
And the spirit takes hold of the form, right? We had that line
mm.
earlier, right?
Yeah.
Is actually, you know, this is actually a description of the possession process. Not exactly, but it's saying how do you not become possessed while you're fighting? You know, it's by being, it's by mastering the breath, by being completely at ease, by actually
Mhm.
understanding the way in which your body, the unconscious mechanisms of your body, so
Yeah.
that you don't, lose
Yeah.
control.
Sure. You got to connect to the unconscious, uh, whatever your alter ego, whatever it is. Yeah.
I'm putting us back on so that you can go
Okay.
to
I've come
bed.
to life again. I see.
Getting dark. It's been that was a good talk.
Miracle.
I don't know if people are following the whole thing, but we kind of lost the last one. It just it was a mess. So I didn't have the patience to edit it. But this one
It's why
seems
you're
clean.
very wise. Yeah. Um, hey, can you send me? Can you send me some more stuff about the full version of the Journey to the South? Uh, the was it
I can look for it. Journey to
the
the South,
Jantan Feng thing?
the one with Johnson Fung. You mean the Journey to the West in a boat? Xiangji.
Oh yeah, sorry, Xiyang. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I was at your house and you pulled out Journey to the South and we looked at
Yeah.
it.
No, no, of course I had Journey to the South. Yeah, the Journey to no, sorry, I'm confusing. Yeah, the
That's all
Journey
right.
to the Xiyangji. Yeah,
Yeah,
the West Ocean.
I can show it to everybody quickly because I have it stored um, right here.
Yeah, it's one of the few that I didn't manage to purchase years ago.
Let's
Because
see,
I
where's
have all the 4 journeys. I have all that stuff.
let me see, where is it? It's right here in my notes. Uh, I have there it is. Uh, no, Xiangji. What? Why is it not there? Oh, it's not here. Where is it? Oh, there it was. I'll send this to you.
Okay.
But it's loading
Uh,
right now. This is so the German there's a German copy in facsimile of the whole text. I don't know why it's taking a long time to load, but
all right.
sometimes they do. Uh
They had a program on the BBC last week about the journey to the West, and they didn't once mention religion.
Yeah, we're in bad shape. We seem to be momentarily losing the war. Whoa, what did I do? Uh, you can. This is the text. You can see how huge it is.
Yeah.
But this is in German, but there's the Chinese, so you can.
Okay. Great. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I like the picture.
The picture is unfortunately this is a little touchy with the screen. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, in terms of losing the war, there's a new film about the Naja story. Naja. I can't decide how I'm supposed to pronounce it.
I think the Mandarin is probably Nerja.
Yeah.
But Nerja. Where is this film being made?
No, it's a cartoon or an anime that was made in China. There's a one that's the whole story that was just horrible, and then there's a new one that just came out that is it's about, I watched it really fast. I jumped around. It's about a motorcycle driver in the 1920s or 30s, and he turns out to be an incarnation of Naja, and he fights the gangsters who are all dragon kings.
Right, good.
And anyway, it did have a lot of the elements in it, which was fascinating that they sort of compiled it, but otherwise it's fairly weak. Anyway,
and this was made on the mainland?
Yeah.
When?
I mean,
Recently?
again, no religion, but yeah, just came out. Yeah, it's on Netflix right now. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not quite sure where they're going with all this on the mainland. I'd be interested to know what Tauber thinks. Are they cracking down on popular religion or what? I mean, I'm not sure. There's not much. Yeah.
We're going to have a new talk about that because obviously things are changing fast, and it's strange. And it's hard to tell, because like, Naja was just like the story you shouldn't be telling but suddenly they figured out they can retell the story without any religion by using anime or something. Like it's sort of like I would almost say China is trying to appropriate its own culture in order to hide its past or something.
Well, I heard something like that about the Uyghurs. They're kind of reinventing it as a kind of Hollywood, as such version. So in other words, the best way to hide something is to actually sort of make a sort of pseudo version, so that you don't actually have to maybe you don't have to necessarily destroy something, but you make a substitute, so nobody will actually look for the real thing anymore.
It's like Tai Chi. It's like people saying you need to root in order to do Tai Chi. All right. Good to see you, man. We'll be in touch soon. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's like all these things. You can overdo it. If you you keep on reciting the mantra, and it's pretty soon you totally lost the meaning. And you just keep on plugging away at the kind of the false image. Okay, Scott. Well, it's great to see you, and you're looking well.
You too.
Okay.
We'll talk soon.
Take care. Right.